Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly, presented by Whisker Wear Apparel, along with Chuck Davidson, Doc Lang. I'm Lyle Stokes, and welcome to the show. Tonight, we're going to be missing Chuck again. He got called back into work, had some emergency stuff to do. So, Doc, it's up to me and you tonight, buddy.
What is that?
That is somebody's feedback. They got their volume turned up too loud. So how's it going, Doc?
It must be on my end, but I don't know what's going on here.
Okay, I can hear you fine. Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. How's everything going out in Ohioville?
It's cold.
Cold, man. I told you a while ago we was around 60 today. It was very nice. Wind wasn't blowing. I was wishing I was fishing. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. All right, there I got it. Daggone it. Had a little technical glitch here.
Well, that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
I was just.
It's 29 degrees here in Ohio. We had a half inch of snow last night. So that's about all that's going on. It's still cold. I hate it, but it's better than what we had last year.
Yep. Well, it's 52 here, and it's been a beautiful day. And I if it's got to be one of us that has all that crappy weather, I'm glad it was you and not me. I hate to be that way, but you know how I am.
I know.
I was just, before you got your little problem there fixed, I was telling everybody that Chuck got called into work tonight, and he's not going to be with us. So we're going to have a great time with Ben, and then we got Justin and Seth coming on when Ben's interview is done, and that'll be another good time after what the deal they put on. But before we start talking, there's a couple things that I want to mention. And for you that don't know what this is a Survivor pickup tube. This goes on the back of your boat. You can see it's got a filter in it, and it picks up water when you're making those long runs to weigh in, or if you just have fish in the live well, and your pump will then continually put water in your live well and shove out the old water. This is an amazing tool that everybody that makes long runs with fish in their live well, whether it's in a tournament or not, should have. I know that you've got one, Doc.
Yep.
I've got one. I think this is a great thing that everybody that does long runs with fish in a live well should have.
Yeah, and if what it does, it fits over top of your in-feed pump where it comes out the back of the boat. Normally, like on my Sea Arc, I've got a screen that's back there. Well, when I took the screen off, there's no place to put this. And what they have an adapter that you just thread right into that pipe in the back, and then the Survivor goes right over top of that adapter, just like that. So,
and this thing's well made.
Yes, it's very well made. There's a clamp, a stainless steel hose clamp that goes right over top of this and holds it right there. So it's a really nice. It's well built.
It is. It's a great tool. They're without the adapter. They're $20, I think, $19.95. They're $24.95 if you have to have that brass adapter that goes in there. I don't know anything that you can spend $25 on that's more important than saving your fish on a long haul going back to a weigh-in, or if you're just, people need to keep those fish and put them in their live wells that have these quality live wells like so many of the guys has got, and keep that thing going after you stress that fish, get it in a boat. And this is a way to make sure that fish is going to survive, and the mortality rate of us losing fish, it gets lower every time something like this comes up. So I think it's a huge factor in what we're trying to do to save these breeding size fish.
Yeah. It's really well made. I was really quite surprised when I got mine.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive the way it's built, and I think that it's a game changer for a lot of guys, and as much time and money and effort as everybody puts into making sure their live well does what it's supposed to do so we can save these fish. Like I say, a $20 investment is probably the cheapest thing you could ever do. Very important. It's just a game changer, and I'm really excited about being with them and trying to get this thing set up. So with that said, we've got some stuff to talk about, and I'm so happy to have Captain Ben Goebel on the show with us tonight. Ben, how is it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Glad to be on here, guys.
Man, we've been working at this for some time, and I know you guide all year round. Are you staying busy this winter?
For me, I don't guide a whole lot in the winter. With the Ohio, you never know what it's going to be in the winter here lately. It's been flooded out here for the last 3 weeks. So really, I don't start going pretty hard until mid-March, and then all the way through, all the way through up till November or so, even in December a little bit, which last year was my first year. So, we'll see. I'm getting phone calls already for this year. So.
That's outstanding. I know last year you'd put up some pictures of some really good fish.
Yeah.
And, it was really cool to see all the fish that you was catching and the smiling faces. And you had brought your kids out on a couple of ventures with you, and everybody likes to see them kids in the boat,
yeah.
Man. That's the future of what we do.
Yeah. I actually had several kids that, or not really kids, but just, young children that went out on a couple trips with me this year too. And those are always fun. Had a couple father and son trips, and grandpa and his grandsons. We did pretty good that day, and those are always fun trips to do.
Heck yeah, that's outstanding. Well, listen, I'm going to let Doc go through some stuff with you, and we'll try to get as much information out for people as we can, so that they know what you're doing. And you fish a lot of tournaments too, so if this is a chance to get a trip of a lifetime with somebody that knows where fish are at and how to get them on there. So there you go, Doc.
All righty. Good evening, Ben. Glad to have you on here, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Hey, so where are you mainly guided from? Where are you launching from and stuff like that?
Mainly, I guide from really Leavenworth, Indiana, and down to the mouth of the Mississippi River.
Oh, okay. So you stay mainly on the Ohio River.
Yeah, mainly. I probably will do maybe a few Mississippi River trips this year if I get any interest, but it'll be only a handful of trips.
Yeah. Okay. And I've already got somebody that's asking, what kind of boat are you fishing out of?
I got a 1998 Sylvan that I pretty much totally gutted and restored the way that I want it. Back when, 10 years ago when I first got into this, actually I've had this boat, I guess, 8 years. There really wasn't a lot of boats out there that, besides maybe Sea Ark, that was, that you could go out and get and catfish out of. Yeah. And it was a deep V boat, which I prefer, but so I pretty much gutted it and redid it. I like doing that kind of stuff, and put a live well in it. I got a 100-gallon live well in it. And it works for me. It's been a good boat.
Mm-hmm.
Got lots of room, 21 foot. Got lots of room. I think from the back seats to the back of the splash well, I think I got 6 foot of wide open space back there.
Now, are you doing just daytime tournaments, or are you doing, or not tournaments, daytime guiding or nighttime, or what?
Yeah, I do offer some nighttime in the summertime. July, August, when it's 150
really
degrees
hot
outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
But last year, I really, so far I haven't got really any interest in that yet. But last year I had a real good July, and it was 95 degrees every day. But fish were biting last year. I had a good July last year, which I typically do around here on the Ohio River. If you can bear the heat, July fishing on the Ohio River is pretty good.
Yeah. Now, do you let your go ahead?
Go ahead. I said, especially when they come, usually about right after 4th of July, when they come off that spawn, they're ready to eat.
Yeah. Now, do you let your clients pick where they want to go from, or How do you do
No,
that?
usually I decide where we're going to go, and usually it just depends on what kind of pattern I'm at and where I've been fishing at. If we got to travel a little bit, I offer my clients to ride with me if they're local here or they're coming in from out of town. We've done that a few times, so it just really depends on the time of year that we're fishing and where I think the better bite is. I tend to I like current, so I tend to go where how the Ohio River is set up in the pools. I tend to go where where I think I can catch them and where usually the most current is.
Right. Yeah. So now, have you got a website or Facebook that people can get a hold of you?
I got a website. It's rivercitycatfishing.com, and I also got a Facebook page. It's I think it's River City Catfishing. You just type that in there and it comes up. I'm not real positive how it comes up there, but usually it.
Facebook can be kind of funny.
Yeah.
So, and you got your number on there so people can get.
All information. I got a lot of information on my web. Pretty much everything. I got PayPal set up where you can put your deposit in, and everything is right there. A little bit. I got pictures and everything on there.
Yeah.
And then anybody can message me, call me if they got questions or anything like that.
Yeah. Now, what's a time frame? What's a normal trip run?
I got two time frames. I got a half day that runs 325, and then a full day, which is a full 8 hours. It's 400 for two people. Both those are for two people.
Wow.
It's extra. Okay. It's extra $50 for a third person, and then any child under 16 can fish for free as a third person.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So you just started, you got your license when? Last year, didn't you?
Yeah, last year, maybe. I think it might even be
before that.
It was even before that. But time you get everything up and going, a website and everything, it takes, start getting your name out there a little bit. It takes a little bit for it to get going. But, I was pretty happy with my first year, the way it went. Everybody that fished with me caught fish. So that's the main goal. And to have fun doing
it. Yeah. So you stay pretty busy then, especially if you're doing tournament fishing too.
Yeah, I do. It's pretty. I cut back a little bit on some tournaments, but I still enjoy doing them. I like getting out there with everybody that's good at what we all do and competing.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I got any other questions here from anybody. Go ahead, Lyle, if you got something.
Well, Ben, I know that you fish with multiple partners throughout the year. You fish with Jody Bevins, and you fish with one of my buddies there, old Russ DeVore. Is there anybody else that you do a lot of tournament stuff with?
Me and Russ fish. We primarily fish the Monsters on Ohio. We've fished that tournament since the day it started. And then me and George Young, we try to fish one or two tournaments a year together. And that's primarily the three people that I fish tournaments with.
I see. Well, them's pretty good partners. You got, George, he's pretty successful. Of course, Russ, he's another guide, and he's very familiar with the Mississippi River, and he goes over there to Owensboro and up down the Ohio River all the time.
Yeah. Russ is that. Go ahead.
Wheeler Lake. If there's a hole of water that's got a fish in it, Russ gonna be there.
Yeah. He loves to fish about as much as I do too. Russ is actually the one that got me in to fishing tournaments years ago. I guess probably back in, I don't know, probably 2007 or 8, something like that. I didn't even have a boat at the time, and there was a little tournament out of Henderson, Kentucky, and he said, hop on in, you can go with me, and we've been friends ever since. Actually bought I think the second boat from him that I actually fished in that tournament with him and used that boat for for a couple of years. So, you know,
Yeah, Russ is a great guy, and I know you fish with Jody a lot. Jody's a good guy. Fishes a lot of tournaments. You and him fish quite a few together, don't you?
Yeah, we primarily fish majority together. Me and Jody do. Yeah.
So how hard is it to keep Jody in line when he's in the boat with you?
Well, you're gonna get two different answers depending on who you ask that question from.
Well, I've heard Trish talk about it a little bit online a couple of times, but Jody's a great guy, and you know, I'm glad to see you fish together. I really didn't know that you fish tournaments with George, but I'd kind of like to fish with George sometime too. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, he's fun to fish with.
Yep. Now, when you're taking these people out, are a lot of your trips instructional, where you're teaching them how to back bounce or how to read their electronics, or are they just about catching fish?
No, you know, I'd say last year was probably 75% of people that were wanting to get into catfishing and just didn't know how to get started in it. I got some trips that people just want to go enjoy a day out on the river and catch fish. You know, they're probably never going to necessarily get a boat, but you know, you know, I got some guys that say I just want to learn how to do this technique on the river, and it just kind of depends on what a person wants. Usually, no matter who contacts me, one of the first questions I ask them is, you know, what are you wanting to get out of the trip, and just being honest with people.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Makes a big difference to the people that are honest with them and the people that are not. It makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
Now, you made a statement earlier that you like current. I like current too, but man, we don't see it on the Ohio up here hardly. Not like we used to. Not back
right
like it was years ago.
Yeah, last year was a little different. You know, we had you know, current quite a bit of the summer last year, especially down around the Smithland Pool last year. And, you know, I think for me, it's just easier finding fish, you know, when there's current. You guys know that, you know, when it gets, you know, like when Aaron's tournament gets around here and there ain't a lick of current out there, it gets pretty tough on finding fish and being able to stay on fish.
Right. So do you mainly, are you anchored down or are you drifting, or what's your specialty?
Yeah, mainly we drift all the time. Unless it's extremely tough bite, I'll throw anchor out or maybe spot lock, but we're always drifting or walking baits or bottom bouncing. Usually one of them three, or sometimes both at the same time. So it kind of just depends on, you know, what the fish are. They're going to kind of tell you what they want, you know.
So, okay, so how do you teach a newbie to back bounce? I mean, I'm just, you know, what do you do to, you know, help them?
I do it. Yeah, I do it no different than, you know, when I first learned that the key is, you know, just teaching them how to run, not necessarily run the boat, but just once you get the right sinker on there for them, that's the hardest part, is knowing what kind of sinker to get on there versus a current. And if you get the right sinker on there, and I can teach them pretty quick. I think, you know, majority of the people that if you want to learn something, you're gonna listen to somebody and you can teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you got the desire to learn, then I can teach you how to do it.
That's good.
Usually I tell them in a day you're gonna learn how to do it. But the biggest thing is, you know, your boat control.
Right. What have you got? You got a Minn Kota, or what are you running on?
No, actually, I switched last year to the Motor Guide 105, the pinpoint GPS, and I absolutely love that drone motor. I ran Motor Guide for years, and I had some issues with the GPS on the one I had, just not being totally accurate. But this motor guide, when you hit the GPS on the control, you know, like the north button, I think it's like, I always called it the north button on the,
Yeah.
you don't really, it just has the GPS button on the motor guide, and it works really well. And
Yeah,
especially
keeps that front
especially,
end
you know, like,
pointed up.
yeah, it keeps the front end, from swaying, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you get too far to sway, the current's going to take it on over on the other side of the boat, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with that trolling motor.
We have a question in the Catfish Weekly chat is, what's the record on your boat for big fish?
The record, Aaron's going to like this. Aaron has my boat record.
Maybe that's why he asked the question.
Is that Aaron? That's that? It's 78 pounds. I think I caught my personal best last March with 76, and I thought,
oh, that's a killer right there.
When I seen that fish, I thought it was going to go 80, and he didn't. But
man, I know that you would have loved to have had an 80-pound fish, so you could have took that title away from him.
Yeah. He's been known as. I think he's got several boat records out there floating around. Believe it or not.
Well, you know, that's okay. I mean,
yeah, but my biggest guidance so far for our client is 65.
65. That's a great fish. I don't care where you're at. I'll take them all day long.
And he never bumped in his life, and he caught that fish bumping, and it actually, I mean, it smoked him.
Oh yeah,
it smoked him. We had a good. That was a father and his son-in-law and his daughter. And they all set their personal best that day.
That's outstanding.
He caught 65. His son-in-law caught, I think, shade over 40, and his daughter got one, I think, in the upper 20s.
That's cool. That's way cool.
That's great.
What kind of tournaments schedule have you got lined up for this year, Ben?
We're going to fish. I think Jody and I are going to fish some of the JKV tournaments. Josh has got several there that we're going to fish. I think the Bruce Midkiff, that was a good tournament last year, and obviously we're going to fish Aaron's tournament and George's tournament. So we got I'll be busy this year. There's no doubt about it. I'll pretty much be. Last year I was probably fishing 3 days a week, and I'll probably be doing that again this year, every bit of it.
Awesome, outstanding. Aaron says that you're a great net man.
On his, in his boat or my boat, for him.
So let's change the subject here a little bit. Now, when you have old Aaron in the boat with you, if there's a bite going on, is he the first one to the rod, or you got to beat him off of some of them, or what?
Oh no, he's got his side. I got my side, and for some reason his side always goes down first. I don't know what it is. You can ask. And it's usually not just me. It's in Jody's boat, Rob Benningfield's boat. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's just.
I know Aaron fishes with Rob and Jody and all them guys, and it's actually kind of funny. But one of these days, go ahead.
Yeah, you need to fish with him one of these days. I mean, there ain't no telling. What we need to do is start a Catfish Weekly show about all the things that Aaron's broke. That would be. You may get. I mean, you would get all kinds of feedback on that.
I bet so. Aaron and I are talking about doing a little project together, but I get him and Cindy in a boat together. She's liable to put a beating on him. He gets to grabbing them rods like that.
Well, you better.
She ain't caught no fish.
You better have your toolbox in the boat too.
He gonna break some stuff, is he?
Yeah. I mean that day he caught that 78 on my boat. He just caught a 60 the 30 minutes before that, and then I finally got a rod to go down. It was a 40, and I'm getting ready to chuck this 40 back. I'm still kind of tore up over the two that he caught, And he got all worked up on me because I was going to toss a 40-pounder out without getting a picture of it. He goes, "Oh, you'd be so tickled to death to have a 40-pounder any day." I was like, "Well, you kind of got a point, but yeah, I promise you, you go fishing with Aaron, his rod will always go down first."
Well, sometimes it's a luck of the draw, and sometimes it's just a lucky draw.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
But it would be a blast fishing with Aaron anytime. It wouldn't make no difference to me if he caught all the fish. I wouldn't care one way or the other. Just be in a boat with him and shoot the bull and have fun. That's the reason we do it. And
Yep.
I'm quite sure he'd be a blast to go out with. It's just a lot of fun. But like I say, Jody or Ben or George, either one of those two guys would be fine too. I wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah.
So really good. But I'm glad you got a big tournament schedule planned up. Is there anything that you'd like to tell us about your guide service or about tournaments or anything that you'd like to specifically visit about?
No, I mean, I'm probably, if anybody, I'm probably going to run some specials at the Catfish Conference. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do just yet.
Okay.
I'm going to be working up there in the B&M booth. So I'll probably have my stuff in there too. So if you're interested in it, stop by, talk with me, and book a trip.
Absolutely. That's a great thing. And, if I remember, George told me last week that you and him was going to be in that booth together. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That'd be just getting around and listening to the BS and stuff that goes on at them booths would have to be a blast. So, George.
Absolutely.
George would be a good person to visit with, and he can talk Mississippi River monsters. I'm sure Aaron will find his way back there. And if Aaron's there and you can talk monsters on the Ohio, and you can sign up for a guide trip with Captain Ben, and you can just get it all done. And there's going to be booths like that all over this thing.
Yeah, you just, you can come over and talk about anything. Or, anybody's ever got a question, I get messages periodically on Facebook about this or that. I don't claim to be the expert at anything or the best fisherman out there, but usually we're pretty competitive on just about any tournament that we fish, and that's kind of how I approach that and my guide service.
You've been pretty successful at Monsters on the Ohio. I see you and Russ are always weighing in some pretty good fish. Yeah,
we keep. We finally got our first top 5, and we've been so many times, which a lot of people can say that's tournament fishing. You got to get that big that tournament comes down and getting that big overfish.
Yeah, that's true.
Get that, if you can get, and a lot of them do. If you can get that big overfish, you're going to be right there with everybody else. And it's just Mother Nature seems like she throws a curveball at us every year in that tournament.
Scott Woody would like to know what's your number one bait of choice. I think I know, but go ahead.
Yeah, that would be the skipjack.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it would be.
The only time that summertime I do if I can get it, I do use Moon Eye. If I can get it, July and August is a pretty good time of year for Moon Eye on the Ohio River. Yeah. And in the spring, every now and then, we'll use some shad if we're anchored up fishing or something like that. We'll use some shad, but not too often.
So you're still using skipjack in the wintertime?
Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of guys in our area will go to shad in the winter.
Yeah. We do sometimes, but anymore it's hard to find. The Asian carp, I'd say it has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think so too.
When I first started getting it, you could go to these feeder creeks and throw a cast net one time and have all you want, and now you got to work real hard for it.
Yep, I agree, and I think that you're spot on with the Asian carp. They eat the same stuff as the shad, and I know shad population on the river systems in my area has dropped dramatically. Where you used to be able to get them anytime you want them, now you got to search for them and spend a lot of time getting them. And you didn't have to do that before the Asian carp population got to be so big. So I agree that I think that's a very detrimental, and we're stuck with them now. They'll never be able to get rid of them. I don't care what they say. We're going to have them from now on.
No, we're pretty much stuck with them. I mean, I bow fished pretty good for a couple of years, and back probably 4 years ago, I did it during obviously during the night. And before everybody was doing that, there was a lot of big fish out there. And we just did it for fun, shooting the big fish. Now I go usually in June. I do that just when I'm not catfishing. I usually take the 3 weeks off in June there, and I bow fish with a couple of buddies over here. And the big fish, since even they've noticed it, the big Asian and big heads are almost gone. Now it's just average smaller fish, and they tend to think that there's gotten so many of them that they're starting to starve out, where the big ones aren't going to be as big as they did.
I think they might have moved up our way.
Just because they're so big, it's just because there's so many of them.
And that's with any population that gets overpopulated. They get like that, and then the next thing you know, there's not any big ones. They're just all about the same size.
That's what it is now. Yep, that's what we're seeing down here.
Yeah, wow. They're dangerous, but like I say, I see no way they'll ever get rid of them now.
No,
but it is what it is. Well, Ben, tell us your contact information again on what you have going on down there, and so if somebody needs to get a hold of you, if they don't have a problem finding you.
Yeah, it's my website's rivercitycatfishing.com. You can look me up on Facebook, message me. My phone number is 812-568-8716, and just give me a call if you're interested, and we can go for there and get you booked up on a trip.
Excellent. Well, Ben, thank you for being on our show with us tonight. We've enjoyed having you here. And, I know that I'm going to be seeing you at some tournaments down the road this summer, and I'm looking forward to it, and good luck with everything you got going.
I appreciate it, guys. I'll probably see you. I guess I'll probably see you both at the Catfish Conference here in a few weeks, too.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Stop by and see us.
Looking forward to seeing you again, Ben.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Ben. That's pretty cool thing he's got going on down there, Doc. He stays really, really busy, and that's what we want to do. While we're waiting to get our next guest in here, I'm going to mention something. Last week, Chuck was talking about and set up a link or something in our chat while we was doing the show about the Arctic coolers. There was a special deal on these Arctic coolers, and Cindy went ahead and got one, and we had this 65 quart delivered to our house in 2 days at the price that he told us about it. And I'm not going to go back through all of it. I don't remember what it was, but like $139 for a 65 quart Arctic cooler. And this thing's amazing. It's very well built, sealed. I'm pretty impressed with it. The issue is we would like to have one for bait and one for personal use in the boat, but even though the smaller ones would be easier to deal with for bait, there's not that much difference in the price. So do you get the big one or you do the small one?
Right.
It's hard to say. It depends. I guess it depends on the size of your boat.
Right. Yeah. Hey,
Seth
Justin.
Wilson and Justin Browning. Hi, guys.
How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Not bad.
We've been thinking about you guys all day, and that win you guys had down there at standing.
Yeah, it was it's pretty good for the conditions. It was I didn't think it was going to be enough weight there once we got to the weigh-in, but it held up.
You was telling me earlier today when we visited that you had 3 and 4 foot rollers coming up on the boat all day long.
All day. In the morning it wasn't that bad in the morning. It started picking up about 9 o'clock, and then it got rough.
Yeah. Well,
it didn't bother the fishing though.
Well, I guess not. You guys put some really nice fish in the boat. Now, I want you to tell me a little bit, and you've told me, but I want you to share this with everybody. You guys left, drove down there, and got there right before the captain's meeting. You didn't put your boat on the water for pre-fishing until the day you loaded it for the tournament. Isn't that what you told me?
That's correct. Yeah, we couldn't do no pre-fishing, so we drove down that morning, or we left that morning. It's about a 7-hour drive for us, and we got down there and made it in time for the captain's meeting, and dropped the boat at the hotel, went to the captain's meeting, and then we wasn't on the water at all till the morning of the tournament.
Man, that's laying it out there now. I mean, did you think you had a shot at doing that well in the tournament by not pre-fishing, or you just think you knew the lake well enough that you had a pretty good chance at going by previous trips?
Well, I've been on fish down there pretty good for the last couple trips. I mean, so I had a pretty good feeling. I mean, as long as the fish stayed where they had been or on the same pattern they'd been, I felt pretty good about it. And they were still there. I mean, we had the first fish in 15 minutes, and it was a 60s. It was in the 60s, and I mean, they just kept coming after that. The first spot we fished, we made probably 4 or 5 drags over this one little area, and we put one of the big fish in the boat. It was the very first fish, and then we caught our limit. We started calling a few fish, and then the wind picked up, and they didn't. We was having to drag it a little bit different direction, and they just didn't want it. So we ended up moving to another spot, and it was on fire.
Cool.
So you were doing dragging. You were doing nothing but dragging for these fish?
We drug most of the time. We did catch a couple dead sticking, and the wind, it was just too rough. I mean, I think you could have caught them about any way you fished, as long as you was on the active fish. And
right,
we didn't have no fresh bait. I used all frozen from Cumberland City from a couple weeks ago, and a lot of guys, I think some guys play too big of a factor on fresh bait. I would love to have fresh bait all the time, but if you take care of your bait when you catch it, I don't have a bit of problem using frozen.
We're from Ohio. We know how to take care of frozen bait.
Exactly. Yep.
That's true. I know all about it. Well, great, man. So you're in 4 and 5 foot rollers. What are you doing? You got your nose of your boat right into the rollers. Is that how you attacked her, or how did you do it?
No, when it's rough like that, I got a lot of open area on my boat. It's flat. I don't have no windshields, and so I got rod holders all the way around my boat. I like to drift sideways in the wind. My back sits kind of low in the water, so if I'm dragging all out the back in that kind of water, I'll take water over the back. But so I like to drift sideways, and I can get a better spread sideways when I'm in the wind like that than I can from all on the back.
Right.
And we was running 2 54-inch drift socks and a 48, and I was still using the trolling motor to keep me where I needed to be. To slow me down, keep the nose, because I think boat control is critical when the fish are tight. Yeah. If you're off 5 feet, you're gonna miss them. But we end up dragging most of the day, and the spots we fished, I had 3 spots that I really wanted to fish, and we ended up fishing 2 of them because the third spot it was rough. It was the farthest one, and we just didn't need to go there.
Now, was you guys in a bunch of current, or was you just in the main lake?
Yeah, we was in the main lake. No current. No current at all. I mean, there was some big balls of bait. I think that's one reason why the fish was there. There was some huge balls of bait we was fishing on. Every time you come over the huge balls, and the fish was tight on ledges. They was real tight off ledges. On the first spot, the second spot we fished was on two little humps, isolated humps, and the fish had been there the last 3 or 4 trips. The second spot didn't produce the quality the last time we was down there as it did this time. But they was definitely stacked. They was just in little short areas. You'd pick up, some underfish once you got off onto the flats, but the big fish was directly on the humps. I mean, right on the edges of the humps.
So you were bringing the baits right across the humps, or as close to the humps as you could get.
Yep, usually right down the sides of them. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'll fish wherever the fish are at, but these fish was usually right dead tight to the sides of the humps.
Now, was the bait fish, was it deep or was it up in the water column?
There was bait up in the water column, and you could see fish busting on them on the graph, but it was a lot. I'd say a lot of them was probably hybrids or stripers. The bait I like to find is deep balls of bait.
Right.
I think them fish are just like humans or any kind of animal. They eat, breed, and sleep. Not sleep, but they eat and breed. And they're there for a reason. So you just got to figure out why they're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and where they're at.
Right. Now, how fast were you dragging your baits?
I like to stay between 0.4 to 0.7 is ideal, but there's times when them fish want it faster. 1.5, right. 1.6, all the way up to that. I mean, it's however they want it. It's how I try to fish it.
Right. Now, how much weight were you using to drag with?
Well, I drag a little heavier than most guys. I know when we used to fish Santee, we drag 2.5 ounces. I drag about, especially when it's windy, I'll drag about 4 ounces.
You using pencil sinkers or?
I make my own. They're like a slinky weight.
Right.
And they seem to work real good. I don't think we broke off any, did we?
No, we didn't lose anything.
Wow, have you got a bobber on it?
Yeah, float. I run a float probably 6-8 inches. I mean, the closer you keep the float to the bait, I think you'll pick up more of the active fish. If the bite's slow, I'll move the float up a little bit more. It seems to help. It may be just preference, you know what I mean? But I think it seems to help sometimes. These fish was active. I mean, you could watch them on the graph. They was all over the baits when you come through.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. How long a leader were you using?
I run on my dragon rigs. I probably run 3.5 to 4 foot leader, and but I run when it's windy, I'll run a lot of line out, 150 yards. Sometimes I'll run 150 yards out. A lot of guys that they won't. I think you get a better presentation with more line out, and but I love fishing down there, and there's so many ways to catch them down there. But when it's windy like that, dragging is probably my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Your buddy has wrote a note on the Catfish Weekly chat that says Justin Browning tails. So now that you have talked about your dragging unit, Chet has already named them for you.
I'm sure he's got a few names for them.
Well, yeah, some of them that I see I might not bring up tonight, but we can talk about them afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Seth, is this the first big tournament that you fished? I'm not familiar with you, so don't get mad at me if I don't know the answer to some of these questions. But
it's been quite a few years. I used to fish some of the smaller tournaments with him and stuff, but this is the first big one I've been to in a long time.
Well,
he called and asked if I wanted to go, and why not? It sounded like fun.
Absolutely. It was.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get to go to Alabama this January. We usually do. We didn't get to make it this time, and I was so glad that you guys done well in that tournament. But Justin, you done well in the Winter Blues on Wheeler.
Yeah, the problem I tend to have on Wheeler, and especially in tournaments, is underfish. And I think a lot of the times it's because I don't want to catch underfish, and I'm throwing way too big a bait. I mean, I'm throwing bait that most people will look at and think, there's no way you're going to catch anything on that bait. And, you know, my underfish on Wheeler, because when I go down there, it's more, I want to catch fish, and I want to catch big fish. I can catch all the little fish I want in the Ohio River. So it's hard for me to downsize. And, I mean, two of the underfish at the Wheelers tournament, I probably drug them 100 yards before I reeled them in. They finally ate the bait down to get to the stinger, I guess, because, you know. But this time we had some decent unders. This time we had a lot. We had several 30, 31, 32-inch fish. So we was calling, what, 20 minutes in?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
A lot of them real close. Yeah.
Man. That's pretty amazing.
Down there, you know, if you get two good overs, and this, you know, I know a lot of guys don't like this strategy, but if you get two good overs, you can sometimes, you know, the unders, you can win with them. I mean, we finished third in the Monsters tournament one year, and we only weighed in 3 fish, but they was good fish. And my problem down there on Wheeler was the unders that day. I mean, we had 2 good overfish, we just couldn't get the right unders. And I think a lot of times I'm using too big a bait.
Well, you know, how big was your underfish this time?
Our underfish this time was 32 inches. He was probably about 14, 15 pounds.
That's a great under.
Yeah.
Now, was that a 3 fish limit or?
Yes, 3 fish limit.
Yeah. Now the other thing is, you guys weighed in. You were the very first boat to weigh in, but you guys came in what, 2 hours before the tournament ever ended?
Yeah, we quit fishing about 12. I looked at my phone. It was 12:36, and we made the call to come in. I knew we had a decent bag. I actually thought we had a little bit more weight than what we did, and but it was getting rough, and I didn't want to take a chance. It was beating them fish to death in a live well. My boat's flat, so, it ain't a 15-degree haul, so I didn't want to take a chance, and I thought, if something happened as rough as it was going to take, because I can't run fast in that rough water.
Yeah.
So, well, at least not without a kidney belt, and because pain pills and everything else. So we decided we'd just take our chances. I knew from what I was hearing, the bite was tough all week, and I said, you know what, let's just call it. Just be safe. I don't want to lose a good fish because we stayed out here. It ain't gonna, I just felt that we'd take a chance and just go ahead and weigh in early.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I saw it live on Facebook. I was at work working, and I saw it live on Facebook, and you were the only boat that weighed in on the live version. And then that was it. I never heard anything more about it until later that night when I got home.
Yeah, they couldn't get the live feed back up. I sat here and watched Justin and Seth weigh in, and I sat here and I waited and I waited and I waited. Yeah. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? And but I got to see the winning weight weighed in, so I was happy with that. But sometimes those internet connections and phone connections just don't get it, especially when it's the weather situation. And people will tell you that don't matter, but I'm telling you, it does matter a lot of times. And if you haven't got it, you haven't got it. And I honestly think weigh-ins on catfish tournaments is one of the most exciting things, because us guys that can't make those tournaments, man, we're glued to this thing waiting to see who's doing what.
Yeah.
And it's really neat when they do broadcast that. But I was thrilled to get to see you guys weigh in, and you look pretty beat up when you got in. I know that water had been rough on you all day.
Oh, it was I had to take a couple extra pain pills that day. My back was tore up.
Yeah, I know you have some bad back problems. Did you talk Seth into giving you a massage while you was out there or anything like that?
Hell no.
Yeah, I tried.
Well, like I say, I knew you wasn't going for it, huh?
No, if that had been Chet Elliott, I'd have got me one.
Oh man.
You guys have some great times, and like I say, I wasn't familiar with Seth, and we're all so happy that you guys done really well down there, and that's a great fishery. And I know you guys love to go down there and fish, as most people do. It's kind of like Owensboro. I've never been there when there was what I call current. It's always still, and guys say, "Oh yeah, I found current here and there." When I get there, it's not doing it, But you fish down there enough, you got a pretty good idea where you're going to go, and it paid off this time.
Yeah, it paid off this time. I've had last two trips before this one. I've been on fish. We put 7 fish over 70 in the boat in the last 2 trips.
Wow.
And I couldn't tell you how many between 30 and 60, 65 pounds.
Man, that's outstanding.
Now, you said
it'll spoil you.
You said that you were running 3 drift socks to slow you down. How far off of the boat were you running the drift socks? To get the control that you wanted, how far off were the drift socks?
I run them probably 6, 7 feet. I'd say.
Yeah, that's about right.
Off the side?
Yeah, off the side.
Yeah.
I'll usually, depending on how the wind is, if the wind's blowing, if it ain't blowing straight up the lake or straight down the lake or straight where, I'm trying to line us up to where we need to be at, I'll put more of the drift socks on one end of the boat and use the trolling motor to keep the front where I have more control. Boat control, right. I think, is key. I think boat control matters more than anything out there, because if you're not where the fish are, it don't matter what bait you're using, what presentation you're trying to use, it ain't gonna happen. So I think boat control is critical.
So you had probably half of your reels out. Your line was halfway out, down the reel was out in the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like to drift like that too, but I always have problems when there's a lot of wind. I mean, just because I'm getting old, it hurts, especially when I turn sideways. Man, it just you're rocking back and forth, and the boat's being lifted and popping down. And like you said, if you don't have a degree haul, it's even 10 times worse.
Yeah, it's rough. I like to drift or drag sideways because I feel I get a better spread, and I think a lot of guys too, and this is my opinion, try to run too many rods. I drag 4 rods, and that's about it. Unless I'm running planer boards.
Till you're from Ohio. We're used to the 2 rods per person. That's
Yeah. I mean, I hear guys say, "Oh, scatter them rods out. You need more bait in the water, better chances." I don't. I mean, yeah, I guess there's something to that, but if you put them where the fish are, 4 rods is plenty.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's times, don't get me wrong, when there's other, if I rarely anchor, but when I do anchor, now I'll run a few more rods. But if it's if I'm dragging or I'm drifting, depends on where I'm at, what the legal limit is, but I usually run 4 rods. I think I have confidence in it, and it works, and I feel like I got better control. Less rods in the water. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it works for me. So I kind of, you know what I mean? I kind of go with it.
Right. Now, are you guys, what's your rig? Are you using a 3-way, or are you using a Carolina, or what are you using?
I'm using a 3-way with, I run a dropper loop about 4 to 6 inches, and then with my weight, with about a 4-foot leader, and then I use a 3-inch foam float. And I run stingers on everything. I feel that I know they're a pain to tie sometimes, and they can get aggravating, but I feel that you will, especially when you're running big bait. I mean, there's times I'll run 3 hooks on mine. I'll run one in the tip, in the back, and then in the tail. But I'm running, we was running 12 to 16-inch pieces of skipjack this weekend.
You're not cutting the tails off or anything. You're just
I'm cutting the tails off, but I'm cutting the tails off. But it depends on how big of the skipjack we're using. This weekend we was using they wasn't the 3-pounders, but we had some 1.5 to 2 pound 14, 15, 16-inch skipjack, and a lot of them was we just cut the tails off, running stingers in them, and I know down there, that big bite's always going to come off that big bait. I'm not all the time, but usually.
Right.
And I like to see them rods go down and it look like wicked tuna.
Yeah.
That's right. Justin, would you mind explaining to our viewers how you tie up your stinger rigs?
I start out with a snell. I snell I snell everything, except for I'll tie a polymer knot when I go to, or a clinch knot, or trilene. I can't remember what the actual name of it is, but I call it a clinch knot or a polymer knot. That's what I tie to the swivel. Everything else I snell.
So
it's easy. There's nothing complicated about it. It's just and there's different ways to snell them. Everybody's different. I've tried to teach Chet how to snell a hook for 3 years now, and he still ain't got it down.
He did leave another message on here, and he said he caught all them skips at Cumberland City while you was watching and learning.
Well, we'll let him have his moment of fame, because I think everybody that's fished with him knows better than that. But I will give him credit. He's the best bait taker up to the truck guy you'll ever have.
Pack him buckets of bait, Kenny.
Oh yeah, he's good at it. Yeah.
Well, there ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, somehow, bad shoulder, bad back, and all, I usually end up getting my share of that packing up that hill.
Yeah.
It kind of is what it is. But when you're having a day that you're on them, somebody's got to get them up to them coolers. It's just kind of the way it is.
Yep. I always say whoever ain't catching the most, they're packing the most.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. Ben Weber says, do you like fishing better down there when there's water running or when there's no current?
Honestly, if there's current, I love it. That's the best. When they're running pulling water through that lake, that seems to be you just can't go wrong. Now, if I plan a trip, I'm not going to plan it just because they ain't running no water. We put 4 over 70 in the boat on a trip when they was running 9,000 through the lake, and that's, it was dead, but the bite was, I changed my way of fishing when there ain't current. I fish different areas. Down there, you can't be afraid to fish shallow water. At times, shallow water can be, especially this time of year and in the spring, can be deadly. And a lot of guys, me and Chet, when we was down there last time, we caught 170 in over about 3 foot of water. And it's, and then we went to the other end of the lake, found fish, and was catching them in 55 foot. So
how deep were your fish past weekend?
We fished anywhere from 30 to 55 foot, probably 53, 52 foot. Most of them come off little small areas. I mean, there was other fish scattered out off the ledge, out a little farther off the ledge, but most of the big fish was tight to the ledges. We probably caught total between 20 and 25 fish that day. We had 6 overfished, which our two big fish, and then we had 4 others that was between over 34 inches that we called. And I mean, when you're on them, they come quick.
Yeah,
that's what's fun.
Was you trying to target the scattered fish, or was you looking for groups of fish?
Well, a lot of I look for a lot of times, in my opinion, when them fish are real balled up and they're not active. A lot of times, I run my chart speed pretty high. So when I go over fish, especially if I'm drifting, you can usually, if them fish are coming up and they're in that line, there's usually a way to get them to hit. Not all the time, but usually you can change up your fishing ways of fishing and usually get them fish to hit. Not all the time, but a lot of times it's all about, like down there, it's all about finding active fish. You'll find fish all over the lake. It's finding active fish. And I don't, out of my experiences down there, when you get big balled up groups of fish, they usually ain't active. You can go over them a million times and they won't hit. They just act like they don't want to hit.
They're interested.
Yeah. Usually, and usually when them fish are shallow, if you can find fish in shallow water, them fish they're up there doing one thing, and they're eating, and they are extremely aggressive when they hit. I mean, you won't see a harder hit than you will in shallow water. It's unbelievable. It's a blast. I love it.
Yeah. But
there's certain times, there's a lot better times to fish shallow water than, sometimes they're not there. You know what I mean? I fished some flats up there, up near the power plant, where it's absolutely, you can't keep 2 rods in the water. Then go there the next day and they're gone. Them fish move. And I think a lot of guys, I think they spend way too much time looking for that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That special honey hole that, they see everybody in, or they hear about and they think, well, I'm just going to find that spot and I'm going to wear them out. And a lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times it's, there's been times where I fished tournaments or just fun fished, and, we'll hit 20 spots, and out of 20 spots, you might catch fish in, 3 or 4 of them, or you might catch 1 or 2 in each spot all day long. It's just, now there's areas that, fish, I think, use more often, but I think that a lot of too many people, I think a lot of the new guys, I think, are chasing that pot of gold when I think they just need to get out there and explore a little more, spend more time on the water. And I think what helps me or anybody else too is fishing for other species. A lot of these techniques nowadays they're not new. They've been used in every walleye fishing. I mean, even bass fishing, because I fish a lot of bass tournaments too. And I think it makes when you fish for multi-species fish, I think it makes you a better fisherman. Like for bump and walking baits, I think when you're, to get to feel that bite, I mean, finesse fishing, bass fishing, it reminds me a lot of finesse fishing. And, I think I think if more guys fish for more things, because a lot of catfish guys, they say, well, they don't look down on bass fishermen or crappie fishermen. They just want to target catfish. And I think that hinders them in a lot of ways.
It's good information.
I think the more you fish, the more other species you fish for, it's going. I swear, I believe it. I'm a believer in it. I think it makes you a better fisherman.
Well, I would agree that people are starting to learn that these walleye guys, and especially the guys up on the Great Lakes, are a few years ahead of us on some of their technology, and now that we're discovering it, and maybe they call it stealing it from the way they do, but regardless, it's making tournament fishing a lot more successful, and just the average everyday angler as far as that goes.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I think that I think the more you can finesse fish, I guess you would call it finesse fishing, the better off you're going to be. I mean, because you know, a lot of times in fish, you know, you'll be say you're drifting in Ohio River. You might drift. I mean, I know guys that say, man, I drifted and all of a sudden I came up on this little hump, or I come up on this little brush pile and I have 2-3 rods go down. You know, they're there for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And I think if you target more of them areas and smaller targets instead of just dropping your lines and covering water, I think it's going to pay off in the long run. I also think that, you know, guys just need to, I think that, you know, there's a lot of head games in tournament fishing. I think a lot of guys, you know, that's part of tournament fishing. It isn't bass fishing. It isn't cat fishing. You know, when you get guys and you know, you hear all week long how guys are either struggling or they're whacking them, and then you get out there and you're not, you know, you got a game plan, but you don't catch fish for the first 2-3 hours, and you think, man, I got to change up. That right there is a killer a lot of times. Yeah. You know, stick with what you know. Stick with what you know. When I go fish a tournament, I don't treat it no different than I'm fun fishing, because when I'm fun fishing, I think I'm more competitive with myself fun fishing, because I want to catch fish regardless whether I'm in a tournament or not. I want to catch fish, so I really don't do nothing different. You know, and I think a lot of guys, you know, they let a lot of guys get in their heads. I think just go out there and do what you do and what you're comfortable with, and stick with it. You know, second guessing yourself, that's part of fishing.
Yeah, that's great advice.
That is great advice. That's probably as good advice as we've had in a long time.
Yeah, that's good advice.
It really is. Ben Weber would like to know if you was dragging with the wind or against the wind.
In the morning, we drug against the wind. When the wind picked up, where we was at, I would get out about 100 yards and it would change.
Yeah.
Where we was at, it was getting blocked. Some of it was getting blocked by the across from the lake. So the wind, we'd get out about 100 yards off one spot, and the wind would change. So it was blowing directly west, and then all of a sudden it would go northwest, or west southwest. So it would actually change, and as the day went on, it got to where we couldn't drag with the wind. We couldn't drag against the wind. We had to drag with the wind, and that's where, when you're dragging like that and you're using the wind, that's where you take the time to get set up on it right, on what you're wanting to fish the first time, because that's what's gonna make you pay off. If you just want to hurry up and get your rods in the water, you're not gonna be where you need to be at, and you're basically you're playing luck. It's luck in, So boat control, I think, is probably one of the most important things, in my opinion, that the new guys need to work on. Yeah. Go ahead.
If somebody wants to get out and learn how to drag bait, just pick a day and not worry about catching the fish as much as you worry about controlling the boat. Once you get the boat control figured out, the fish will come to you. You'll learn how to catch the fish when you learn how to control the boat.
Yep. Because if you're on a tight ledge, or if you're on, you're fishing a hump, you want to be able to fish. Boat control is key, because if you're off, a lot of times they're tight, and them humps, they don't have to be very big. A lot of times them humps are only 1 foot, 2 foot difference. And I myself, I like to fish isolated humps off big flats with nothing else around.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to carry they're not going to hold a ton of fish usually, but are going to hold the right fish, in my opinion. That's what's worked for me on a lot of big fish.
That's what you're looking for, is the right fish.
Yeah. I mean,
especially Wheeler. Wheeler's not that hard to catch fish on, but catching the right fish at the right day that's everything.
Yeah. Wheeler can be it can be tough to I mean it can be a tough lake on guys, but I mean ever since we started going down, it's been I can't complain. It's been good to us. I mean I've struggled on days, which every fisherman's going to. When you hear them fishermen that never have a bad day, yeah, they're a liar.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They're just feeding you a line, ain't they?
Yeah, they're playing one of them hit games again.
That's getting ready to say. That's one of the games that people play, and you know I know guys that it doesn't matter how well they're doing. Oh man, we can't find a fish, and the other guys will be not catching nothing. Man, we've been laying them out, and this is the pattern we're going to. Hoping you'll go try that shit and it don't work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, every tournament guy plays it. They can, you know.
Right.
I mean, I do. Chet knows I do it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I have a message here again from him. Says you never have bad days right before tournaments.
Exactly. At least that's what I'm sticking to.
That's right.
Hey, are you guys running mono or braid?
I run braid. I do run a mono leader, and I don't run a long leader. I run maybe 14, 16 inches max. I don't like to run a long leader. I don't think there's any need for it, unless if I'm dragging, I'm going to run one. But like on a Carolina rig or a anchor, I don't run a long leader. I never have, and it's preference, I think.
Yeah, it makes it hard to control when you got the long leader.
Yeah.
So when there's no current, no wind, and it's fine to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. How big of a foam weight was you running on your leaders, Justin?
Down there, I run a 3-inch because I'm usually running bigger bait. Sometimes I'll run a 3.5. The bigger the bait, the bigger the float, in my opinion. Up on Ohio River, I do run a little bit less weight on Ohio River at times, but I'll go to a 2.5 because I'm not, up there I'm not using as big as bait. But I used to use them, but the fish ain't in the Ohio River like they used to be.
Right.
No,
yeah. If you're using a 3-inch foam Comel or whatever kind of float that you're using, how high do you anticipate that bringing that bait off the bottom?
I think it depends on your speed. I think there's quite a few variables on. I think leader length will make it. Leader length will play a factor in how far it's going to come up. I think this is my theory. I don't know if it's right or not, and I think leader length and I think how fast your speed, and the bigger the bait. I don't think. I think at times I think it's keeping it up some. I think. I don't think it's bringing it real far up. I think at times it's, especially running them double hook rigs, when you're running a lot of stingers, a lot of times that stinger, especially if you run offset, which I run offset on everything, I'll lose hooks. I'll lose the tackle because I believe offset, I feel an offset you get a better hook set, but you will snag more if you're trying to fish wood and a lot of rock. You will snag more so, but so I don't really. Just a lot of factors that I think to actually see how far it actually brings it up off the bottom.
Yeah, I agree with the offset hooks. If I buy hooks and I don't think they're offset enough, or if they're not. That's the first thing I do to them after I check the point on them is put them out there where I think they should be. And whether that's right or not, I don't know, but it makes me feel good about it.
Yeah, I believe I I like an offset hook. I mean, if I'm fishing real heavy, if I'm fishing a lot of wood, then there's times that there's a few occasions I won't run offset, but 99% of the time I'm running offset hook.
Yep, me too. I like them, and like I say, if I get them and they're offset from the beginning and they don't look like they're far enough, they get a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I hope Wheeler stays in the I hope they get the net controlled, the gill nets down there controlled a little bit, but you're starting to see more of them down there. But man, that fishery it's exploded. The big fish when it's harder to catch an under than it is an over, you got a good fishery.
That's right. Yeah. And they've been like that for several years, and hopefully they'll get a handle back on some of the regulations that they've let slip away. That's part of what we do, and we don't have to like it, but it is so good down there right now. They need to really be careful and not let that get away from them, because if they do, it'll be like all the other places that is not as good. And right now, that's probably, if it's not the premier destination for a lot of guys, it's one of the top 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I have heard from a lot of the locals down there that run businesses, or, even the guy at the hotel. I like to talk. So, and I'm constantly preaching conservation. So every store I've walked in, they've heard it. And, everyone you talk to down there, they're seeing what these tournaments, the minnow bucket, for example, we was in there right when we was leaving. He said that tournament helped him get through last month. What I mean? The winter blues.
Did. Yeah,
he said, it's slow down there during the winter, and these tournaments, he said, that they play a big factor. There's a lot of reasons that, there's a lot of benefit to the conservation down there, and there is everywhere. Even the Ohio River has been destroyed, but it's and I believe it's getting out there more and more now to where more guys are seeing it, and I'm hoping that whether we see it or not in our time, that one day, because at the one time the Ohio River was on its way, to be be in the top 5. I quit fishing Santee Cooper and I fished for years down there because I was catching better fish at home. And Santee it's got a bad problem with commercial fishing down there. And I'm hoping North Carolina, picks up on some regulations, because they got a great fishery. And
yes, they do. One of the things that I think it will be a great asset, and I agree with you, we're probably not going to see it in our lifetime, but Seth's little boy that was there, we need to make sure that these young kids understand why we do what we do, and so they can carry that on when they get to be our age, and maybe they'll see the difference down the road that we might not get to see.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I remember on the Ohio in the 90s, it wasn't nothing to catch 30 fish. When you're out there, and over half of those fish would be 30 or 40 pounds. And now we don't see that now. You're lucky if you get one.
Yeah, you're right. A good fish in our pool, like the Markland pool or the Meldal, or a good fish nowadays is 25, 35 pounds. And and they're not, them's not everyday fish anymore. Used to, they was everyday fish. Yeah. And I remember, back in the 90s, in the Markland pool, you didn't hardly see many blues.
No.
When Dale Broughton was running tournaments down there in Cincinnati, you never seen, it was all flathead.
All flatheads, and we all knew how to fish for them flatheads.
Yep. And the blue cats, when they took over, it didn't take long for that fishery to get good, and that fishery can get good, I believe, quick again. And now we getting Asian carp up there, and there's a lot of factors that, there's a lot of reasons why we need to leave them fish in the rivers. Yeah. And I know a lot of guys think that Justin Browning is dead against commercial fishing. That is not the case. I mean, I believe the rivers can sustain some commercial fishing, but it can't sustain what it's being put to now. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that. And it's something has to be done, whether we get it done in our lifetime or not. But one thing that I tell everybody is if we keep educating, we'll get through to some of them. We might not get through to all of them, but we'll get through to some of them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Are you going to the Ohio Catfish Summit?
Yeah, I plan on making it down up there. I go up there every year, just a lot of times just to. Well, I didn't make it last year because I went down to. It was the same day as the Catfish Conference.
Right. Yeah.
And
you and I were there the year before when it was down in Middletown.
Yeah. And I think let's see, I think I've been to all of them except that one, the one they had last year.
Right. Me too.
And you know, a lot of them guys that you know that was in the one I think they had in Columbus.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of them guys from where I grew up at a pay lake. You know, so I know a lot of them guys, and it was it was funny when they wanted to ask everybody where everybody stand up and give your name and ask where you fished at. Them guys all stood up and said private ponds. I laughed. I loved it, but. If you're embarrassed to where you're fishing at, you probably shouldn't be fishing there.
Yeah,
that's probably right. That's probably right. That's so true. It's scary.
Yeah. If you're embarrassed to say where you're fishing, that's probably you probably should stop fishing there.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're right about that. That's a very good point. I don't know if you guys know or can tell me who Danessa is.
Oh, that's my girlfriend.
Okay, well, she left a message on here that says Chet's a really great net guy.
That's true, but he had.
So she evidently knows from firsthand experience.
Yeah, she does, and she's had to train him a little bit, but he's come a long way.
Well, listen, guys. I am so happy that you guys done well in that tournament, and it's been a great time having you on here with us.
I know good information. Yeah,
you shared a lot of great information and stuff that's going to help people for some time. They'll be going back and seeing what you said about drifting and using the drift socks and making sure you have stinger rigs and all this stuff on there. These guys will be watching this for a long time to come, and that's what makes the sport so great is people sharing some of that information with others so they can pick on it and they can be successful too. We have to deal with them down the road at some time in tournaments, but it helps them get a hand on it. And some of the guys that's been in it a while will pick up on some stuff here too.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I'll help anybody I can. I'm by far not the best out there, and I never claimed to be. But I think a lot of times that if I had to tell a new guy coming in one thing, I would say to go out and there's enough videos on the internet now. Steve puts good videos out. There's a lot of guys that put videos out. And to learn, to watch them, learn from them. But, don't go out there and expect them to do exactly what they're doing. Take bits and pieces from all the videos you see. Go out, try them on your own, and learn from your mistakes. Don't learn from their mistakes.
Right,
their
mistakes. Your own style.
Because you might catch on to something that works for you that don't work for them.
I agree.
Learn the basics and do your own thing. That's going to help you more than anything out there.
Good advice.
My theory is, and I think you'll agree with me, that nothing replaces time on the water.
Exactly. You're right. Yep.
Nothing replaces that. And you're right. I watch a lot of videos, especially at night. I'll turn my monitor around while I'm working, and I'll listen to them. And if they say something I got to see, I'll stop and turn around and see what's going on. And there's a lot of good information now compared to what there was a few years ago. But you have to figure out what works for you. Just because it works for Justin doesn't mean it's going to work for me or Doc or vice versa. Exactly. But if you can evaluate what works for you and you can figure out how to control that boat, if you're not going to drift, If you're going to anchor fish, learn how to precision anchor on a spot. There's just so many things that you can do, but you have to figure out what works for yourself. That's some great advice, Justin.
Yeah.
And another thing I think a lot of guys, you know, learning what them fish are doing at each time of the year is critical. You can cut out so much water by learning what the fish are doing at each time of the year. You know, it's because most of the fish, they all do the same thing, just about. And once it's just getting out there fishing, and once you learn it, you can cut out so much dead water. It's crazy. And you know, with Chet being on here, here's a good example. I told Chet one time, we went down there and we smoked them in the Elk River one day. And I'm gonna tell on him. And I told him, I said, you know, so he's got a favorite spot up there in the Elk River, but he lives and dies on that spot. So he come down there. He said, I'm coming down there and fishing. I said, okay. He's like, he goes, where should I start? I said, well, I probably would not start in your favorite spot. They're not pulling no water. It's hot. That's not the right time of year. What'd he do? Went up there and lived and died 2 days in the Elk River. Never caught a fish. Well, you think he would learn from that experience alone, but he didn't. You know, his head's as hard as a brick. So he goes down there again. After a very unsuccessful trip of living and dying in the Elk River again. And I'm telling you, that Elk River can be good. I'm not saying that. But he went right back down there and brought a couple buddies that he wanted to get on fish. And they probably thought, oh, my God, what have I done on that? You know, they probably never wanted to fish again in their life. And next thing you know, they all left sunburnt and went and ate bad Chinese buffet and then went home. So just because you caught a fish or seen a guy catch a fish in one spot, don't live and die in one spot.
That's right. That's some more good advice. Now, he says that he did put you on fish the day before winter blues.
In the cooler, he got bait out of the cooler, if that's what he's talking about.
Oh, okay. He didn't say
that's the only fish I think he had anything to do with. Besides, well, he did catch some good fish. He did catch he caught his personal best that trip, and it was the day before the wheeler tournament. Yeah. Chet's got a Kentucky Wildcats problem, is what he wears that bad mojo, and I have to strip search him before I let him get in the truck anymore. And well, the last year, it was so bad, and I told him I don't wear. There's no Kentucky gear can get my truck because I just feel that it's not good.
So
bad luck.
Are you like that with the Kentucky stuff, like a lot of guys are about bananas? Or is it just with Chet?
I'd rather have a whole banana tree in my boat than a Kentucky, anything Kentucky. No Kentucky wild. Now, it can be Louisville. I don't care about Louisville or any other. It could be Eastern Kentucky. I don't care as long as it's not UK. And Chet is real bad. Oh. He slipped a pair of tennis shoes, a UK tennis shoes in, and it ruined the whole trip. I mean, yeah, we caught some fish, but it was just terrible.
Oh, man.
So if he ever goes fishing, we just strip search him because he will. It's terrible.
I have this vision in my mind about not doing that, not stripping him at all. I mean, I've seen some of the things you guys say about each other, and I don't want no part of that action.
Yeah, it's not a very pleasant experience, but it's something it has to be done at times.
Yeah. Hey, Mike Cook posted on YouTube. He said, great show. Sharing information is great for the sport. And then Ross McClure wants to know, what drift sock do you guys use?
I think I got two just regular Bass Pro 54 inches. And I got, I can't remember the other one. I had some others, but I had an experience down at Wheeler. The 2 trips before this one where, I about sunk my boat. I had a 66-inch drift sock that slipped out of my hands when I went to put it on the cleat. And the boat spun around, and the other drift sock, I was drifting from the back, it got hung around the motor, and I thought, well, I'll just raise the motor up, get it off. Well, it wasn't hung on the motor. It was hung on the plug and the motor. So when I raised the motor up, trimmed it up, it pulled the plug out.
Oh.
And on a Sea Arc, you can't get a plug back in from the inside.
No.
Not tighten it up. So it was we didn't sink, but you know, everybody says, oh, we'll just, you know, get it up on plane and it'll suck that water out. Well, I'm here to tell you, don't rely on that information, because I had so much water in the boat, you ain't gonna suck much out going 7 miles an hour. Yeah, it was awful.
Oh man.
Well, you know, I've had a deal like that one time years and years ago where a boat had 2 plugs in it, and I just bought the boat, and my brother went with me, and we went down and put it in, and it was about March or April. It was cold, you know, and he said, you put the plug in the boat? And I said, yeah. So I left him with the boat, fired right up, you know, and left him sitting at the bank on the Mississippi River, and I pulled up, parked the truck, and I got back down, started down the ramp, and he said, I thought you said you put the plug in a boat. I said, I did put the plug in the boat. He said, well, what's this? And he's holding up a plug. I said, I thought that was a spare. He said, get your ass down here. This thing's filling up. So we got down there and backed it up and started going. And he said, you got to get up to speed so to suck that water out. Well, it was had so much water that it took a little while to get it to where it was pulling the water out. But eventually we did get it up to where it was pulling the water out. And pretty soon, next thing you know, it was gone. And you had to look around, but we found where the other plug went. There was a second plug in that boat, and that was an old Glastron. And I had no idea they put 2 plugs in boats. You know, I never seen that before. But, you know, he was getting pretty excited by the time I got back down that ramp.
Yeah. It's I carry extra plugs, and I try to go prepared, because you never know what's going to happen on that water. Never.
That's exactly right, and that's the last place you want to have problems is on the water.
Yeah.
I'm anal about, you know, I carry probably too much stuff, but you never ever know.
Yeah, I carry double of everything, it seems like.
I understand that completely. A lot of guys may not understand it, but I do. And if you ever have problems one time and you don't have something, you'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's like going on, you know, like when we go to Wheeler, I take grease gun, I take extra grease, because, you know, you never know when you're going to be on the side of the road pumping grease in a bearing or changing a hub, or because anybody's fished long enough knows it happens.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Jack Scott says he sunk a duck boat a few years ago because it had 2 plugs in it. Well, that's the second person now that I know of that's had 2 plugs in a boat that didn't know there was 2 plugs in a boat.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I'm sure my brother won't either, because he was pretty upset with me. He knew I didn't put that plug in the boat, and I said, dude, I put it in there.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Well, guys, we're running on about an hour and a half on this show. I can't tell you how good a show this has been. We have had a blast with you all on here. It's been a lot of fun. You've helped a lot of people with some great information, and again, congratulations on your win down there at Wheeler. 70-some boats. It was 76, 77 boats, and not the pre-fish to come in there with a first place win and in that kind of conditions is outstanding.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And, Justin, Seth, I've never seen you at a tournament. I hope we get together sometime this year and get to visit with you. And Justin, I'm hoping to see you at a few this year. And we'll see what happens. But don't put a licking on me like you did down there. I mean, you got to give me a shot.
Yeah. I hope I stay on them. I've been blessed this year. It's we've had a good year so far.
Well, that's outstanding, and that's a great place to fish. And it sounds to me like you pretty much got her figured out.
I love it down there. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Good deal. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, appreciate it, and stay in touch, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Yep. All right.
Man, that's a heck of a trip they had, Doc.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a trick. They put a lot of great fish in the boat, won a tournament without any pre-fishing. I mean, it don't get much better than that. 30-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, that's relied on places that he'd been the last 2 trips down there, and to do that well, it was really cool.
Yeah, really good.
He shared some good quality information, and we appreciate that. And I know all the viewers will like it, and they're happy to see that, and people will be watching that and thinking about what he said for a long time to come.
Yep, very good.
If you got any closing statement and Doc's tip of the night for us?
The only thing, no closing statement. Well, yeah, I do have a closing statement. Almost forgot. Southwest Ohio Catfish Club, March 18th, Rocky Fork Lake in Hillsboro, Ohio. That's a start of Vince's tournament series. And don't forget about Bink and Janet's benefit that's behind me. That's coming up quick. I got the information today that the permits have been approved. I'm just waiting on them. So all we're waiting on is nice weather and hopefully good conditions on the river. We're going to have a blast that day.
That's outstanding. You and I talked earlier before the show, and you've been on the phone with Bink, and other than being a little tired, he's doing really well.
Yeah, he's doing real good. Doing real good.
Yep,
So
I talked to him the other day, and man, everybody's so happy that he's going through this fine, and he got his surgery coming up. He'll breeze through that.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing him at tournaments before you know it.
yeah, he's wanting to come down to the Catfish Conference, so hopefully he'll be well enough to coming down to that. So, and
We'll be happy to see him.
on my tip for the night, I run a lot of reels. I run a lot of different reels. Most of the stuff I have is Abu Garcia's. One of the things I am super anal about is I like to have these things clean. I don't like to have slime. I don't like to have scales stuck on them, especially on my spinning rigs when you're fishing for skipjack and they're just covered. One of the best things you can use is a toothbrush. That'll get in here. That'll clean all that stuff off. It'll get all them scales off of it. And all it takes is one scale. It gets down in here in this gear here where the pawl runs, and it'll just tear it up. So that's my tip for the night. Use just an ordinary toothbrush, and you can get them scales, and you can keep those reels clean. And this is about a 25-year-old reel right here, and it still looks brand new.
Yep, that's outstanding. That's a great tip, Doc. Thanks for sharing that with us. I don't have a lot of stuff to talk about for closing statements. I would like to tell Chuck that we missed him. I know he had to go back to work, but I want to thank Captain Ben Goebel for being on the show with us, and Justin and Seth. We had a really great show with those guys tonight. When we get guys that's that knowledgeable, sharing information and telling stuff about guide service and telling not only inexperienced fishermen, but sharing information with the experienced guys and stuff. I picked up a few things from Justin that I didn't know, and especially about boat control and how important it is. And I can't thank those guys enough for spending their time with us. It was outstanding, and I appreciate it very much. Let me see if I can find my schedule for what's coming up here. I can't find it. Imagine that.
All right, Catfish Conference, it's coming up here. We're a month away.
A month away from the Catfish Conference 2017.
Yep.
We will be having Steve on one more time before this conference gets here. Be thinking about if you're interested in fishing at the Quincy Veterans thing that we fish every year. Fishing for Freedom's coming up in June. I believe it's the first weekend of June. That's a big event. It's a ton of fun. If you like to do something more rewarding than you've ever done in your life, sign up for the Fishing for Freedom tournament, Quincy. There's also one they've been doing in Springfield, Illinois, and I'll get you all the information on that. Both them guys are going to be on the show with us really soon. Randall's going to be on here in a week or two. I think next week, actually, to be talking about Fishing for Freedom. And I promise you, if you get involved with these type of tournaments and take these soldiers out with you in a boat for a day of fishing, it's the most rewarding thing you can ever do. It's just so much fun, and they appreciate it. And folks, those guys have done, and ladies too, have done more for us than we can ever thank them enough for. So take that into considerations when you're making your tournament schedules. For Doc Lang, Lyle Stokes, we're missing Chuck Davison. We'll see you next week right here on Catfish Weekly.